Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Becker, and this is my module for understanding my community for Abilene Public Schools. So to start off with, let's look at our customs and traditions. I divided my communities up into Abilene, Kansas ourselves, and then as well as tried to hit on the community of our schools. So when we look at Abilene, Kansas, most of you, I'm sure, have heard of it as Dwight D. Eisenhower's boyhood home. We have the library and museum here. It was established in 1858. When Kansas Pacific Railroad came through in 1867, that's really when we became that cowtown persona in the Old West. Of course, we're known for Wild Bill Hickok in his days here in Abilene, as well as things that our community traditions would be our Central Kansas Free Fair and Parade is a huge tradition yearly for us. Along with that is the Wild Bill Hickok Rodeo, which we've won several awards for. The smallest rodeo in the United States that brings in some bigger bull and bronc riders. We also known for our murals throughout town, trying to bring in some different diversity through artists. We have several throughout our town, as well as our boot walk, which is another tradition and that we have recently implemented within our community through our Arts Council. So looking at Abilene Public Schools as a community, again, Central Kansas Free Fair pops back up in there because it is something that we really drive in reaching out to our communities. We have a staff float, we have a senior float that our students can participate in, as well as our marching bands are big staples within that parade as well. On our staff float, we pass out flyers, we pass out water and pencils and things like that just to gauge interest. And it's kind of like a welcome back to our school year because school usually typically starts that next week. Throughout our schools, we also do service days where we go into the community and we help with certain activities such as volunteering at nursing homes or volunteering in a park cleanup. Other things is our older students will come down and volunteer within our schools just to help where a need might be. We also have team meals, which has become a tradition for our high school students and our sports teams. Parents get together and form a parent group that provides meals once a week during the season for our athletes that are competing that week within the athletic competition. We observe homecoming. It's a little bit different from everybody else because we only have a homecoming queen. And then during Dead Week, we have something that is called Cowboy Joe Week because we are the Cowboys. And that is a week of nightly parties where you vote for your favorite candidate. There's 5 senior boys that are elected, and depending on if you buy a yearbook or if you do certain other activities, then you can put in more votes for your candidate. So it's really a fun tradition that not many people know about because nobody else does it around us. We also have Night of the Stars for our middle school students, and through that is you have to earn a 3.6, I believe, or higher GPA. And if you do that for 3 out of the 9 weeks, you get to go to a fancy dinner that's provided by our parent teacher organization and dress up. The girls usually wear formal dresses, and then our local automobile sales and shop, they provide cars, fancier cars, and their employees and some dads drive the students in those cars, and they have a red carpet walkthrough. Other things just to note, we have a lot of teachers that are alumni that graduated from here and have returned to teach in our district, which is something I think is very cool about our community. It's very tight-knit and there's a lot of community involvement. Going on to population characteristics, this is an area where we don't have a lot of diversity for sure. So population overall, male and female is pretty close to being equally divided. We have a 30% population that is seniors within our community. As far as major employers, what we look at is definitely manufacturing, like Great Plains, Russell Stovers, Rawhide Portable Corrals, Prairie Land Partners. We have a branch of that here, and Thunderstruck Bumpers. I'll also add that since we are in a rural setting, there's many of our students who are also a part of the farming community, and so that is another area that we are getting support and have families engaged in. If you look at as far as our citizen education attained, around 29.2 have their high school graduates, 24.2 have some college, and then bachelor's degree is around 22% as well. Population statistics as far as race, we are mainly white in my community, so again, like saying, we don't have a lot of diversity within our schools. It's just something I'll talk a little bit about later. Characteristics as far as our community as a school. We have Abilene High School, which is 9th through 12th grades. Student-teacher ratio is 16:1, 482 students. Again, as you see within our community population, our Abilene High School population is also very strong within, obviously, the white, which is at 86%, and the elementary schools tend to follow that as well. With younger, I believe, our pre-K through K and first grade building is more in the 90s. Abilene Middle School is 6th through 8th. We have 351 students and a 14:1 teacher ratio. Eisenhower Elementary is a 4th and 5th grade building, and we are at 17:1 with 207 students. McKinley, which is our 2nd and 3rd grade building, has 206 students, and again, same teacher ratio, as well as Kennedy Primary, which is the building I currently serve in for a majority of my time, has 264 students and a ratio of 17:1. We are fortunate to have multiple communication channels within our community as well as within our district community. So within our community, we utilize social media. There's our community utilizes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those types of things. You can easily find, whether it be Parks and Rec or just our city building and city commissions. They all have social media profiles. We are lucky as well to have a newspaper that is housed here in Abilene called the Abilene Reflector Chronicle, who does a great job of highlighting area events, as well as they're very supportive of getting school information into the paper and athletics as well. We have radio stations that we use regularly. They broadcast our sporting events, as well as they've done some of our graduations in the past too. And those are KABI, KJIL, and KSAL. As far as within our school community, again, we have social media profiles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're also just launched a new program last year that has really opened up opportunities for our students, as well as made another connection for us to the community, and that is our Abilene 5-Star Studios, which film our home events, as well as do media days for our students and athletes, as well as for our band and our theater and our cheerleaders. So it's just been a really cool addition that I feel like has really gauged or combined across all activities and included everyone in it. And then finally, the high school also does something called an Abilene Booster, which just highlights just the happenings at the high school itself, but is passed throughout the district. As far as community groups, again, we have a large selection of different groups within our community. We have Kiwanis, we have the Dickinson County Historical Society, we have Rotary, PEO, and Junior League, which those are women's organizations that promote the education for women. And so they have paired with some of our teachers and some of our students in helping to provide some funding for classes so that they can better themselves, as well as just reaching out to families in need. We also have Arts Council, which I mentioned, and 4-H clubs, Boy Scouts, church youth groups are very active in this area, and we have a lot of churches in our community as well. And as far as school organizations, we have Site Council, PTO, Abilene Booster Club, which is supportive of our athletics. We have district leadership teams, as well as numerous clubs throughout both the middle school and the high school. And National Honor Society is something else that we have that promotes that future well-being of students. Leadership among our community, we have a city commission, which is made up of 5 individuals, one of those being the mayor. And then we have a city manager that reports to the city commission. And then underneath that city manager, we have department heads. Within our district community, we have a school board, we have a superintendent. They report to the school board. The superintendent then underneath them has our assistant superintendent and curriculum instruction. And then we also have administrators, a district leader team, and ANEA is also something that is very active within our school community. Economic conditions for Abilene, our population is currently declining at a rate of 0.6% annually. It's decreased by 1.76 since the most recent census in 2020. And so our average income, and looking at what brings our families here and what income looks like for our families, the average is $67,806. We do have almost a 10% poverty rate, and that is something that I feel we are seeing an increase in over the years and being within the schools. We have 48.3% on free and reduced lunches. And then our last bond that we had was $23.3 million, and it easily passed. So again, just going back, and I know that I've said it, we are lucky to live in a supportive community. We have local businesses that donate their time and donate their resources, as well as fundraising to our schools. We also are fortunate enough in this area to have a large tourism during the summer months. And so that is also something else that brings and increases our economics within the town, as well as benefits both, businesses, restaurants, hotels, and those sorts of things within our community. We definitely have job opportunities open, and I'm sure that a lot of communities around us and within the United States are seeing that after COVID-19 caused some of our smaller restaurants have definitely had to reduce hours because they don't have staff that are available to be able to keep it open and to run those businesses. So there's always, it seems like, opportunities for people to be hired. Political structure of our community. Again, I kind of touched base on this a couple slides back, but we have that city commission, then the city manager, department heads, which would include the Parks and Rec department, water and sewer, streets, police, fire department, and library. Social tensions that lie within our community. Again, I mentioned it's not very diverse, but I do feel like we want to support cultural diversity. It's just not always something that we're privy to because we don't have that diversity here. Many residents grow up in Abilene and return to raise their families in it. It has a very hometown feeling. I have heard before with some new residents that have moved in that they felt like it was hard to fit in at first because so many people do move back, but eventually that they do feel like it's their home and they're accepted. There was a lot of tension during COVID-19, especially between our health director and the school district, school board. That was definitely an area where we saw a lot of differences in opinions. And I would think that if we visit something like that again, I think that we would still probably have those same tensions. And there's also some tensions between just the new generations within our community, as well as that older population. As I mentioned, we are 30% senior citizens. And so sometimes they don't see the value in building new structures and creating new opportunities for our youth. And so that has created some tension in the past between individuals within our community. Previous community efforts that we have had pass, as I mentioned, the bond elections, recreational facilities. In the past 10 years, we've had a skate park put in. Within the past 3 years, we had 2 dog parks added. We renovated our swimming pool. It is on the historical list, so we had to be careful with how we went about renovating that. We recently, last year, finished up our football stadium, which was a massive overhaul of our stadium and our track, and actually won an award this year from Sports in Kansas for our facility. And then we recently have installed within the community what we call Rails and Trails, and it's a walking trail and biking trail that's been put in based off of using old railroad systems that are no longer used. New proposals that are facing us are the baseball complex. Um, this is something that is super important to both our community and our school because it's something that our high school would be able to share with the community. And I also feel that it would bring in new economics if we could host more tournaments, bringing people into our community, spending money in our restaurants and in our businesses. And I think it would be good publicity. We did make it to state last year as our high school boys team, so it would be great to up our facility to better support our students and athletes. Power structure of our city commission. Again, they make decisions based on the needs of community. They gather those through informational town hall meetings. I did want to express that there are a lot of people in our community who are more engaged than others when it comes to local government, and I feel that those people tend to be those business owners or those white collar workers from the community where their schedule allows them to take off and attend those meetings. And so unfortunately, I feel like sometimes the voices of all of our community is not necessarily heard. District power structure, we have our school board, our superintendent, administrators, district leadership team, teachers, and parents. I feel like the school board and our superintendent are typically on the same page. Administrators then will bring concerns of teachers within their buildings to that superintendent, who then communicates those concerns to the Board of Education. Obviously, like any other structure, parents as well as staff don't always follow that pecking order like we talked about. And so that's something that, within any community or any society, it seems like there tends to be one of those. Carrying out an intervention or building a coalition are far more likely to be successful if they're informed by the culture of the community and an understanding of the relationships among the individuals and groups within it. And that was from the Community Toolbox. Multicultural issues, again, we don't have a lot of diversity or different cultures within our school and our community. I think we're probably pretty sheltered, which I would guess it would be a little bit tricky if that started to change and people within there having to think about things differently than what we usually do with going with the flow. We do have a dress code that is part of our student handbook that was created by our administrators. Teachers and the community, I still feel like they do try to recognize those different cultures within our schools. We do holidays around the world to identify different holidays that are celebrated throughout the year. We have a Native American History Day where we bring in actual people with that who can speak to and represent that culture. We also have a partnership with the sister city in Japan, and that is something that there is a club within town and they meet, and then every few years either the sister city comes to Abilene or Abilene members go to Japan. And then finally, we have Oktoberfest, that is a very active and cultural event within our community as well. Public opinion in regards to our schools, we send out an annual survey to families during parent-teacher conferences and have those filled out in order to receive feedback. Typically, this feedback that we've gotten from there has been very positive. I would say that we have a tendency to have negative feedback posted on social media, usually when somebody feels upset or feels that they have been wronged. Instead of going through normal channels, it is something that just gets put out there. I feel like we could increase public understanding and participation as a school district if we provided monthly family activities. That would definitely help with engagement. I also feel that iPad and apps 101 is what I called it, but if we could just have some a few times throughout the year where parents can come in and we can cover the different apps that students are using to turn in assignments and submit, especially at our upper grade levels. There is just a lot of confusion with parents and understanding how their student is using it. And so I think that that is definitely an area that we could increase and engage families, as well as, I mean, that really speaks to student improvement, student achievement as well. I also think that having student incentive for family participation is another area that we could do. I know when I taught middle school, our students got their reinforcement for their parent coming to um, parent teacher conferences. So, this might be another way just to increase that engagement with families. Again, we do have strong community support. We are a very conservative community. We have definite invested businesses that support us, and we typically have a very strong voter turnout. So, which of the slides had the fewest bullets and why? I felt like population characteristics was definitely one of the slides that had fewer bullets because we're not very diverse in our community. Um, I am concerned with that because I don't feel like then we are getting the same opportunities, or our students are getting the same opportunities to grow and develop as other students living in a more diverse culture, which inevitably is going to affect their future well being because they are not being exposed. To different cultures and having to live in a culturally diverse world, we need to figure out a way to bring that into our community. Other things would be political structures was another area. Um, I don't it had fewer bullets because our city commission doesn't really have a lot to do with our schools. I don't feel like it's more, I see it coming from those individual business owners where we see a lot more involvement and contribution and support of our schools. So, thinking of how to turn these into strengths, I think that we could definitely provide teachers with more training on cultural diversity that can then they can bring that to the classroom and use that with their students. I also feel that as a district, we need to try to hire teachers who can bring diverse backgrounds because, again, we know that relationships are key with students. And if we can bring a staff in that can develop those relationships as well as teach them about those diversities, it's a win-win situation. As far as political structures, I think that we could do better as a school representing ourselves, going to city commission meeting, providing them with information, having presentations done by staff, having presentations done by students would just be another area to engage the community, and maybe engage those who haven't previously been involved. This assignment provided me with the opportunity to dive deeper into my community and my school. Through the use of a sociological inventory, I was able to document characteristics of our community, obtain more knowledge about our past history as well as current issues and demographics we are facing today. By applying this knowledge and skills, I'm able to better advocate for the needs of my school and my community. This also provides me with a better means for understanding and engaging with families and school personnel, which ultimately strengthens student learning, supports school improvement, and promotes the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult. This assignment was relevant to my current learning because it helped me see areas where our school has room for growth within our community. It also caused me to think about ways we can increase community and family engagement. Communication, we know, is key when working with families in the community. Without it, there are many things that can be misunderstood or misconstrued. And this also involves consistency in communication. Many times we start off with good intentions, but then those will fall away over time and over years. This assignment showed me biases within those who we often hear from. So we must continue to work at relationships to ensure that we have the support of all of our stakeholders by providing them with multiple means for input and support of our schools. Finally, I feel that this assignment has strengthened me both as an educator and a future administrator. It has provided me with different perspectives in regards to what we do well and areas where we still need to improve. Ultimately, the future well-being of adults and students should be our priority. We need to think about more ways to enhance what we already do as a school, as well as bring in opportunities to strengthen student learning and community and family engagement. I believe that we are reaching a majority of parents, but oftentimes we miss the parents with true needs. We can do a better job by having frequent and consistent communication, surveying parents and community members, as well as providing them with activities and opportunities. Finally, this is my list of references that I used. And I thank you guys for listening to me. Hopefully, you all have a great start to your new year.